What's up? It's Chris, and today we're going to talk about the top 3 reasons why a lot of people that do shadow work never truly permanently release the emotions that they're trying to release. So what shadow work essentially is not calling shadows into you or something creepy and demonic like that. Shadow work is just going into the sides of your personality that you usually resist, the parts of your subconscious mind, the parts of your emotions that you trapped in childhood, or the parts that want to be expressed that are also kept under wraps, and learning to bring them back into acceptance. So you can think of like an iceberg. Your conscious mind is the tip of the iceberg, your subconscious and / your shadow, which aren't exactly the same thing, but your shadow is all the parts of your subconscious that you reject. So there's a lot more to you in that bottom part of the iceberg. So what shadow work is bringing all that stuff that's in the bottom of the iceberg, bringing it to the top of the iceberg. So you have a bigger iceberg. And what that manifests as is you have a lot more energy in your life. You have a lot more spiritual ability. All your spiritual gifts come back because all your spiritual gifts, all your psychic gifts, all of your healing abilities, a lot of them are trapped in the shadow. So when you heal these parts of your shadow, they come back up. Also, a lot of parts of your happiness, a lot of parts of your confidence, a lot of parts of your expressiveness, your charisma are trapped in the shadow. So the more stuff is trapped in the shadow, the more monotone and contracted a person seems. And the more they embrace their shadow and accept it and integrate it, the more full their expression will be. So the number one first reason why people don't ever actually fully process something with shadow work is they never surrender from their heart space. So what that means is they stay in their head. They stay mentally thinking about it. So they might go back and go, oh, this event when I was 12 years old really traumatized me a lot. But what happens is they just write about it maybe in a journal, or they think it through and then they tell themselves, it's okay, I love myself still, or it's okay, I'm actually amazing, even though I didn't feel like it then. And it all stays in the mind. But once again, the mind is the top of the iceberg. So nothing within the top of the iceberg is going to help you with shadow work. It might help you get a nice perspective on your shadow, but you're still looking at your shadow from the top of the iceberg. You're not actually diving into it. So what's required to actually dive into it is surrender from the heart, which makes you go really present and also might make you go into the emotion. So when you surrender to your heart like I am now, you have less egoic control. So you might feel this kind of sense of vulnerability that a lot of people don't want to feel. You might start crying. You might want to shake your body in anger when you go and do that. You might want to scream in terror. And while sometimes that helps, you don't always have to do stuff like that. But what you do have to do is surrender to the heart. So how I surrender to the heart is I like to hold my hand on my heart, and then I just relax the lungs, relax the muscles in the heart, and then I relax the face. The face is where we trap a lot of emotions in our head. We go, and then we keep it up here. But when we surrender, open your mouth too. Open your mouth about 2 fingers width. Take a couple of deep breaths. That's how you surrender. So while it's good to journal, and I use journaling as a part of my shadow work, the most important part is surrendering to the heart. And if you don't do that, then you could journal about it for pages and pages and pages, hours every single day, and you're never going to process it truly. So the second reason that most people never fully process something when they do shadow work is they experience their emotions, like I was saying before. They try to surrender to the heart, but they experience them through their lower unconscious ego instead of from acceptance. So it's people that are like, oh, I'm going to do shadow work. This hurts so much. I'm in pain. Okay, now I felt it through. Feeling it through is not that. Feeling it through is surrendering into acceptance of the thing, which sometimes temporarily you'll have to go into a bit of suffering. But if you're only suffering through the emotion the whole time, I can guarantee you're not processing it. You're still resisting it because suffering equals resistance. So whenever you're suffering through it, you're not quite released of it. So what happens in a true surrender is you'll feel this feeling of, and then this empty, present space surrounds your heart. And that's when you know you've processed through it. So if you're still suffering through it, and then you're like, oh yeah, I suffered through it. That was some good shadow work. No, good try, but no, that's not true shadow work. True shadow work, you should maybe only experience stuff like that for a really short time. And then you go into the full release, okay? So the best way to do this is to keep your spine straight, because as we contract our spine and go into like all these positions, that's when we go into resistance and suffering. So I like to do my shadow work without my back on the chair, feet flat on the ground, spine straight, chest held high, chin up, crown straight up, chin kind of pulled in but up. So there's a lot of space in the throat area. And then just focus on the heart. Even do some tapping, some energetic tapping on the crown, on the heart space, on the third eye, just to bring more energy. I like to visualize color. So I like to tap on my heart space, visualize green expanding in my heart, tap on my third eye, imagine indigo expanding through my brain, light up violet flame on the top of my head, and just surrender into the beautiful color of existence. Don't surrender to the dark emotion, surrender the dark emotion back to source. So a lot of people don't understand what surrendering means. Surrender does not mean, oh, now I'm going to suffer and feel this shit. No, surrendering doesn't mean, now I'm going to suffer and feel through all this. No, that's temporarily what it means because you were resisting it. But then you want to get to a place where you surrender the darkness, you surrender the suffering back into source, back into the infinite beauty, back into the infinite color spectrum, back into the infinite space, okay? That's where we want to surrender. So when you surrender from shadow work, you feel blissful, you feel expansive. You don't feel like you just like pulled a tooth out. You feel like you just like, kind of like how it sounds gross, but how you feel after you vomit. It's like you're like, oh, like even though maybe you have a bad taste left in your mouth, you feel free of the nausea. That's how shadow work feels. It's purging. You're purging stuck energy. You might be really tired after it. You might even have a slight headache, but you're going to feel empty spaciousness and bliss around you after you process emotion in the right way. The third reason why people don't do shadow work properly and they never fully permanently release these things is because they don't find the actual root. So let's say you had something happen when you were 15. So then you go try to do shadow work on that event at age 15. What you don't realize is that's not the first time you experienced that emotion. So that's not the root. The root of that emotion probably lies in between age 2 to 5, maybe later, but mostly from 2 to 5, sometimes before then. But I'd say maybe 80-90% of trapped emotions are rooted in age 2 to age 5. So when you're thinking back and doing shadow work, you need to find the time that it happened, most likely age 2 to 5. You don't need to remember it even. So I use muscle testing. I teach my clients muscle testing to find the age that we first trapped an emotion, and then we transmute it through the heart space. So I would suggest using muscle testing or using your intuition. You can use divining, so you can use pendulums, or you can use other ways that help you tap into your subconscious, and you can ask, what age did I first experience this emotion? What age did I trap this emotion? So a lot of emotions are from there. And then a big thing is a lot of emotions you experience are ancestral. So a lot of emotions are not even from your childhood, but most of them are from your childhood, I'd say. The reason why you might have not actually fully processed something is because you tried to process it from age 18 when that event happened, when you trapped the emotion for the 35th time. And so if you think of it like you're pulling out weeds from a garden, you chopped off a big branch, good job, you probably feel better, but the root of it lies age 2 or age 5 or age 3 or age 4. The cool thing is, though, you don't even have to process it from age 15, because if you pull the root, you don't have to chop the branch off. You pull the root out and the whole weed comes out. So if you haven't fully processed something that you've been trying over and over to process, ask yourself, is this really the first time I experienced that emotion? And I guarantee it's not. You're probably totally overlooking times. And once again, you don't need to remember the time. Most of the time I process emotions, I literally feel something and I check, oh, this is from age 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's age 3. It's from my mom. It's from my dad. Okay, I processed this emotion from when I was age 3 from my dad. All right. Gone. So the way I do shadow work is so easy. It's actually pretty fun. It's like just magically popping all these bubbles and releasing all this stuck energy within you. So if you want to learn more about this stuff, you could check out my Instagram. You could book a free call with me to learn more about my coaching or anything like that. I'd love to chat with you. Or you could just continue watching my content. I'm going to put so much stuff into my content now. Especially, I'm going to start focusing more on YouTube. So thanks so much for watching. Feel free to reach out to me in any way. I'd love to help you out. I'd love to answer any questions for you or anything. So hit me on the Instagram DMs or in the comment section on this video, and I'll try my best to get back to you ASAP. All right? Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.